Welcome to Between Over and Next with your hosts, Holli and Robert, a happily married couple who explore the space between what was, what is, and what's to come. From career changes to navigating life's uncertainties, this dynamic duo will empower you to live your happiest life at every age and stage. So, get ready because your journey with Holli and Robert starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Between Over and Next. Hi, Holli.
Hi, Robert. You know what we're talking about in this episode, Robert?
It's something that is really
meaningful to you
based.
and me. We are going to talk about the beauty and the power of leaving a lasting legacy and the importance of documenting your life story, which is something that is very near and dear to us and something we are very familiar with. And most people should know what the definition of legacy is. I'm going to give the formal definition, Robert. It is the long-lasting impact of particular events, actions, etc., that took place in the past or of a person's life. Let's start at the beginning of why we're even going to talk about this topic, Robert, because you are a documentarian. I met you 33 years ago, and that was your profession and still is your profession and something that really matters. So share a little bit about what legacy means to you and your background on how it's brought us to this moment in time.
It's kind of simple for me based on my background personally and professionally, which has been documentarian. I was trying to think back to my earliest exposure, no pun intended, to having a camera in my hands, or I guess being captured by a camera. And I can vividly remember my father taking 8mm home movies that we have now on video and DVD. I was 3, 4, 5 years old. Even back then, it piqued my curiosity, right? My first professional gig was in 7th grade when I was made the captain of the audiovisual squad at IS 51.
I love that story.
Junior high school.
That was your beginning.
And I was in charge of showing the film strips and the movies in the classrooms. And I was the one up in the booth in the auditorium, you know, that showed the movies. I'm going to call it, even back then, ancient technology. There was a video camera and a recorder that the school had, I guess, been given maybe by Sony. That was my first memory of actually recording on videotape images in the 7th grade.
That's so cool. Even fast forward, when you were at elementary school for Alex and Lindsay.
When the kids were in elementary school, because of not only my expertise, but my schedule, because most of my video work back then was event-related, weddings, so mostly Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was weekends. So during the week, I had much more flexibility.
And you're a highly involved parent.
Yeah. Well, right, because I could. So I would attend all of these everyday events at the school and document them.
Which were very special.
And we started, as part of that, I guess after a number of years of me doing that, an AV club.
Yeah. I remember all the beautiful thank yous
school.
you got from the kids, thanking Mr. Erlich. What made you want to become a professional videographer, documenting stories?
Well, I didn't think of what I did as a business until after college. I didn't study photography in school. I didn't study filmmaking. Like Alex went to school for this, even though I instilled it in him way before college. When my father was shooting those movies of us, they weren't just being put away. We would show those movies, even just a few years down the line.
Well, you took out a big screen.
We took the screen out, took the projector out. We would get together and watch, and we would laugh. It was so hysterical. We would play it in reverse.
Well,
So we were sleigh riding, and we were going up the hill instead of down the hill.
Well, I have vivid memories of certain things because of playback. I remember doing a reenactment of a wedding with my brother in my apartment in Brooklyn, and I love that video. And then when right now, at the same time, thinking about that video and ordering my brother what to do and step on the cup and all of that fun stuff, I am thinking right now of Lindsay consuming the hours and hours and hours of video that we both took of our kids.
Yes.
There's something very special about home movies. And that's different than what we're going to be talking about, but it's part of your story.
Right. We were lucky in a sense that I knew what to do in terms of capturing our family. I had the equipment in which to do it. We take it for granted now, right? We now walk around many times with a camera, not just in our pocket, but in our hands. And as an event videographer, you think about the progression. I would do a couple's wedding. They get married. They start a family. And I would always get the question from couples, you know, we're pregnant now. We want to get a video camera. What video camera should we get?
You don't get those questions a lot now.
I don't get those questions ever anymore, but I would get them quite often.
Yes.
Few times a year,
yes.
Easily, people would say to me. And I would never recommend a specific camera. It was never get the Canon this or the Sony that. It was always get a camera that was small and have that camera not in the extra bedroom closet on the second shelf in the corner. Mm-hmm. Have that camera in the kitchen cabinet next to the water glasses, next to the cereal bowls. And the reason I say that was you want to have that camera at the ready, not just at the birthday party each year, but for the everyday stuff.
It's so different today because of the phone.
Because of the phone. And everyone has that.
And that's a beautiful thing because there's no excuses.
Correct. And which leads really to why we're talking about what we're talking about today, because just because you have the tools doesn't mean that you're doing what you should be doing with the tools, right? When you should be doing it and with whom. But everyone has the capability to really document their family history, which we should be doing as part of this mix of not just the funny eating ice cream videos, right?
That we see on Instagram all day long.
Right.
But meaningful
more
content.
Meaningful content.
So within the tapestry of human experience, the threads that often shimmer brightest are the stories we leave behind.
Sure.
And we passionately advocate for the documentation of life stories. We are doing that through this podcast, Between Over and Next. We are proud of what we are sharing because we believe in the power of every individual's narrative. Everybody's story has the power to inspire, to teach, and to foster a sense of legacy. So we want to help guide you to think differently about how you want to be remembered. In episode 4, we recorded with our kids. Mm-hmm. We want our kids to be happy and follow their passions and achieve greatness. The power of legacy resonates so profoundly within our conversation because it's so interesting how we're going to be remembered by our children.
There are things in which we remember being a part of, and then there are things that we remember because people told us about it, right?
Lindsay and Alex are creating their legacy, and they're watching us as mentors, as parents, and everything I've experienced between Over and Next, co-parenthood has been a very, very important role I love being a mother. I love being a parent with you. And I feel that that is a very, very big part of our legacy.
I
Yes.
just really like where we are with our family and how we interact and the frequency in which we interact with one another. Everyone doesn't necessarily have the ability to see their family members frequently, right? Distance
Right.
sometimes
Right.
comes into play. And I think having technology in video calls now being part of what we do on a regular basis,
Right.
there's no excuse not to see faces and to interact and to have time together, even if you can't be together. If you do a Zoom call with your grandparents, record it.
Yes.
Hit the record button and record that conversation, because you never know what pearls of wisdom may come out during that conversation that you may not pick up on right now. But you know what? 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, when you're sharing that because you have it with your children, you say, wow, I didn't remember they said that, to me that day, because it didn't matter to you at that moment. It wasn't important to you at that moment. You didn't have children yet, but now you're so aware of it and you're listening back to that advice they gave you.
When you receive this information from your family members, those especially that are older than you, parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, or people that you love that have come into your life that are older and have lived a full life and are sharing their values and what matters most to them, if you do record it, which we're recommending, it's going to live on after you, and you could keep passing it down.
You don't necessarily appreciate the value of what you have by capturing certain things.
Right.
Until many years down the line. And it may not even necessarily be you that benefits from that, but generations that will never even meet you. Remember when we were in the wedding world, one of our favorite, I guess, ads that we did, right? We did the postcard, was imagine the chance to watch your grandparents' wedding video, right? And it's like, wow.
I would like you to talk about your experience with Thru My Eyes. This organization I've worked with how many years?
About 7 or 8.
Because no matter where you are in your journey, your story matters. Each of us has a unique story that is entirely our own. It's a story filled with passions and talents and lessons and moments that have shaped you into who you are. From the tiniest details to the most dramatic events, your story is a gift worthy of attention. It's what makes you stand out from the crowd. It's what sets you apart from everyone else and makes you special. No one else has had your story or your experiences, and no one else can share your story in the same way you can. So talk about Thru My Eyes and the stories that you documented for families for a different reason.
This organization's mission was to be able to record video biographies with people who had been diagnosed with a terminal illness and who also had at least one child under the age of 21. In most of these cases, it was people who were fairly young. And there were lots of people, unfortunately, we did that had 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, and a couple that had infants. So what we were doing was, in many cases, multifaceted in that we were there to document their life on video through a series of questions that we would take them through to elicit their responses about their life, to paint the picture for people. And this was done mainly for their children, who in many cases would never know their parent. In addition to doing that, we also, and this was the most difficult part of the interview process, was for them to project into the future and to leave messages and words of wisdom and advice for their children at certain milestones in their life that they knew that they were not going to be at, because their child was 5 and they were given 6 months to live. So they would leave them messages on what they would say to them on their high school graduation day. And then the parent or grandparent who was ever caring for this child would then be able to share this video message that was recorded many years before to be played that day or at their wedding day. But the thrust of what Thru My Eyes did was to document from the start, childhood, through school, through family, vacations, first loves, marriage, children, all of those things, to get that down, recorded, is incredibly powerful. Young people are not supposed to go before their parents, but the family, friends could have this. And during my time with Thru My Eyes, I recorded well over 300 of these. And still to this day, as much as I love all of the work I do, that was truly some of the most meaningful.
I'm very proud of you. What you created is and will continue to be a priceless gift for those family members. And it is the power of video, which is it's your bloodline. It's everything about you.
A lot of it came through the events. I would see people in the throes of a wedding day, just by the look in their eyes, knowing that they're not going to remember any of this. It's such a whirlwind day. It happened so fast. There are so many embraces, so much laughter. How could you take all of that in? It's not all happening in front of you either, right? So I remember I finished my talk to other videographers, and there were hundreds in the room. And I said, we're lifesavers as videographers. And everyone looked at me like, lifesavers? Like a lifeguard? Like what? And I said, no, we've been charged to save life, right? To document life for people. I remember it was this realization for these professional videographers who were recording all of these singular moments that they were saving life for future generations. I always took that very seriously. It's one of the reasons I got out of the event business, right? The wedding, I'm going to say, business, because I took it so seriously. I felt so much pressure to get it right because you had just one chance to capture that moment.
Unlike a sitcom.
Yeah, or even social media videos, right?
Right, that's true.
If we don't like how this podcast sounds, guess what? We'll just record it over again. Holly would yell at me, right? But we would just record it over again. No big deal.
I wouldn't yell at you.
But a wedding day, right? When you're given that task, you say, okay, here you go. We're choosing you to document this once-in-a-lifetime moment for us. Don't screw it up.
Your story serves as a reminder of how far you've come. Sharing your story can help you recognize your strength and your resilience. And, importantly, your values and beliefs. Maybe you care deeply about family or a specific cause like I do for Cycle for Survival, or you were so dedicated with Thru My Eyes, or something that I really believe we live with, honesty and love. And these values guide us and ultimately will guide those that are following in our footsteps. So
hopefully.
Yeah, so your values, when they're clearly expressed, are, as you would say, your lasting gift to future generations.
Some people leave behind buildings with their names on it. If they've had a successful enough life and career that they can give money and have their name on the side of a hospital or a university building, right? Those are legacy at the grand scale, right? But everybody leaves something behind. Everybody who walks the planet for however much time that is, has a legacy, has a story. Last weekend, we had our friends Rami and Kathy in from Cleveland, and I got to spend some time with Rami. And one of the things that we did, we went to 2 museums locally. We're very lucky to have them here in New Jersey. And one is the Thomas Edison Museum, his laboratory, where he invented things. You talk about a man who changed the world with his inventions and his patents.
And his legacy.
And his legacy, what he leaves behind. And some of his laboratory and air is untouched. Is as he walked away when he left it. His library, if you're ever in this part of New Jersey, go to the Edison Museum.
We'll put a link in the show
worth
notes.
the spot. And what he left behind. And then we also went to the Yogi Berra Museum, which also, you know, decorated legacy and what he, you know, his causes and all. How do we want to be remembered? What do we want to be remembered for?
I want to inspire everyone out there. What is truly important to you? What are the moments that have shaped you? What makes you happy? What challenges have you faced? What are your dreams? These insights will make your story richer and really show who you are. Think about high points, proud moments. We talk about this all the time, who we are in our relationships and our role in our community. We've been volunteers. That's part of our story. But I want you to all think about your story while we're talking about ours. It's about the kind of person you are.
I hope there's a lot of good that I will have left behind. Besides the obvious of I am proud of my family, I'm proud of my marriage.
Proud of the work you do.
Yes. What I think I'm most proud of is how I've helped others, whether it be in the video world, when I was teaching and speaking around the country and the instructional materials of helping people better their business, which in turn got more weddings and events recorded, right? We've talked about this so many times when we started in the business of capturing weddings. Video for weddings, capturing a wedding on video, was not even something that the wedding industry at large promoted as an important thing. Like it wasn't on the list of important things to do for your wedding, right? In all of the wedding magazines and lists and guides, video wasn't on the list.
It became a mission of mine.
And was one of
the
things that
I got it on the list because
but we
that
know
yes.
It was something that we were on a mission to do.
We really want you to document your personal story on video. It probably depends on your age and stage.
Don't wait until a doctor says to you, get your things in order.
Great advice, okay? Because you know what? The chapters of your lives matter in real time, in the present, in the moment.
In a good frame of mind. As silly as it sounds, right? You're like, who am I? Am I some famous person to sit down and have somebody interview me? No, you're famous in your world.
But you just said something so important. It's really the medium of video because getting it on the list was a very important milestone.
Sure. Thomas Edison, he created the first records. Record player to record the human voice.
Video is a compelling medium for storytelling. You are sharing your character, your voice,
your mannerisms.
First of all, you're immortalizing yourself.
But what's the downside to having it? There is no downside to doing this. This will actually enlighten the people in your lives right now, while you're alive, to tell these stories, okay? And what we're going to share with you, right, to elicit. Because most people, I can't tell you how many times, or the hundreds of times that I did this, that they said, you know, I own a camera. I know how to do this. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to ask. And that's the hardest part. It's not talking about, do you have the equipment to do it?
A lot of people have fear about doing it and doing it the right way. You know, there's no real right way.
Doing anything
is going to be better than nothing. I want to share the key reasons why we should create a video legacy, because I really do believe it can be invaluable. And the first key reason is the preservation of memories. Our stories allow us to get the details of our experiences and our values, our beliefs, life lessons, wisdom, all in your voice, your expressions.
Which is where this all ties in to what we talk about on Between Over and Next. It's the opportunity to teach the life lessons that we know, to impart our wisdom and knowledge on others, and to preserve that, because you can't discount the fact that what we'll do today, what we will document today, because of the ease of doing it, because we have the technical ability to do it, is that we do it, right? Not just to talk about it, not just to think about it, but to actually document things that will be valuable to not only the current generation, those around us, but those who will never have met us.
But wait, but also to
2, 3, 4, 5 generations down the line.
And to yourself. It's a window into yourself.
Right, and to teach those lessons and to realize how much you do know and how much you've overcome. Who better to learn from than your own parents and grandparents and great-grandparents? And I was talking about this, too, with Rami, because this has become very important.
And by the way, Rami's also a videographer and a documentarian.
Tracing his history.
Right.
And he's doing some traveling now to try and meet some of the people and see some of the places where his father was from. But doing genetic testing and because the technology exists and to trace the family tree, imagine in 100 years, these videos will come. We have live, I just checked. We go back on Facebook live about almost 9 years of video, thousands of hours of video.
We're never going to know if they're ever watched, but they're there if they want to.
And I downloaded, one of the things, we'll put this in the show notes too, you can download your entire Facebook history, videos, photographs, posts, everything you've done. It takes sometimes a couple of days for this to compile. But there's a place on Facebook you can download everything and store it. I wish Holli had done this before she was hacked.
Yeah, me too.
And I did this twice since then, and it's probably time for me to re-download. And then I just upload to Google Drive, and there it stays. Because some of the stuff is unique to social media that you create. It doesn't necessarily exist on your phone. And maybe you didn't back up your phone, right? And it's gone.
Recording a legacy video can provide clarity and purpose in life, as well as peace in knowing that your story can continue to be told, whether it be happy or sad, fear or hope. The process can be very therapeutic for the storyteller, and it allows you to reflect, find meaning in your experiences, hence impart your legacy. And the viewers, they're going to hear the voice, they're going to see their mannerisms. That will provide comfort and a sense of closeness long after they're gone. Video is a genealogical resource. It could absolutely give you a better understanding of your family history and how it shapes you and your identity. And it definitely gives the descendants a clearer picture of your lineage. It's easy, it's accessible, it's shareable. So how can you start your journey on creating a lasting legacy? So the first thing I want to tell you is not to be afraid. We can help you take that first step. We have created something just for you. It's free. It's an exclusive how-to guide on how to leave a legacy. It'll jumpstart the process. There are dozens of biography questions and also best practices on how to best record the interview.
These questions that we're sharing with you, many of them come from the interviews that I did over the 7+ years with Thru My Eyes and the over 300 recordings. All of these questions evolved over time. Some of them are obvious, and some of them are like, that's a great question. So I encourage you to to get the guide, take a look at it. Keep in mind that holiday times are really good to do this because you've got lots of family members who come into one locale. You could capture and record with over the course of a long weekend. So keep that in mind as the holidays times come up, family barbecues, Thanksgiving, Christmas time. All of those are opportunities when you have family members together to do that. But there's also ways and tips that we share in the guide to be able to do this remotely. Many of the 300 interviews, as word spread about Thru My Eyes, were done remotely so that we could accommodate people nationwide and worldwide. We did many that were out of the country, in Canada, we did one in Australia.
We have the technology to do it. It is not a hard thing to do. It's just actually carving out the time to do it.
The link for the free guide will be in the show notes. Make sure that you check that out. But as you can tell from our discussion here, this is something that is very personal to us and something that we really strongly believe in. And we believe that everyone can benefit from documenting the stories of their life for our own therapeutic uses, because it's very cathartic to be able to go through all of this and talk about it, and then in retrospect think about how great an experience it was. And I have to tell you, and we'll wrap it up with this, there were so many people that needed to be convinced, unfortunately, to do this, even after a diagnosis that they received. It's not always easy, especially under duress, like an illness. 100% of the time, 100% of the time that we did these recordings, we always ended with the person feeling grateful that we had done that. Even the most reluctant of people that we did it with always ended as we were leaving with, "I'm so thankful you stayed and we did this and I got it done."
And if you're blessed to have a parent or grandparent, because this is just as viable for a grandchild to do their documenting, Robert.
Yep.
If you have a parent or a grandparent that is in their 70s, 80s, 90s, it'll be such a gift to them and to you. So we encourage you, we inspire you, we motivate you to consider recording and documenting your life story and leaving a lasting legacy.
Thanks for tuning in to Between Over and Next. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found it meaningful and insightful.
If you value it to be worthwhile, please share it with your friends and family.
We would really appreciate it if you could take a moment to write a review for us. Your feedback will help us continue to create content that resonates with you.
And don't forget, in the show notes, you can find all the relevant links mentioned in this episode, from accessing free downloads to visiting our website and more.
If you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. Simply send us an email. Our email address is hello@hollyandrobert.com. We're always excited to connect with our listeners.
So until next time, thank you again for joining us on Between Over and Next.
Thank you for listening to Between Over and Next, the podcast that navigates the twists and turns of life with courage, laughter, and a whole lot of inspiration. Tune in every Tuesday to hang out with Holli and Robert on your favorite podcast platform. Visit hollyandrobert.com and follow them on social media to ignite your passion and fuel your dreams.